Welcome to the Twisted Irons Get Twisted podcast with your hosts, Zac and Joe. In this episode, Zac and Joe are going to start off by talking a little bit about their inspirations behind doing the podcast. Then we're going to talk with Twisted Irons brewer Brandon. And then finally, we're going to meet up with Glenn and Ethan of Guilt 45 right before their set at Tuesday's open mic night.
Why are we on our own podcast? What's going on here? What is this?
Well, we got to tell people what the hell we're doing. They don't even understand what we're doing yet.
Shit. Wait, all right. So why don't we tell them who we are, and then we'll get into why we're doing it. That would be pretty cool.
Okay, yeah. Who are you?
All right. Who, me?
Yeah.
Oh, me. All right, my bad. All right, so I'm the director of marketing, mayhem, madness. I do the labels, I do the art, the photography, and I make a lot of weird decisions that usually gets me yelled at, for the brewery. How about you? What do you do here?
Well, first, can you tell me about one of those decisions?
Oh, with this podcast. Yeah.
Awesome, man. My name's Zac. I am the host of Music Video Bingo here at Twisted Irons every Wednesday night.
Absolutely.
And you can catch me behind the bar, every once in a while, too.
Yeah, so we decided to do this podcast because, honestly, working at a brewery is a lot of fun. I mean, whether you're behind the bar, whether you're behind the scenes doing some crazy stuff, whether you're making a giant keg wall for a video or something, we come up with a lot of really fun stuff, and we wanted to kind of take this opportunity to talk about that and show people what's going on, and talk about the product and things like that, like a little product placement doesn't hurt, right?
Yeah, you got to talk about the beer. I mean, there's tons of good beer here. I mean, and there's stories behind a lot of it, too, that people might not know just coming up and ordering it, that we now have an opportunity to kind of get the word out, tell those origin stories. But also, we meet a lot of really cool people here.
Right.
And, beyond just, hey, we have musicians that play here, we have food trucks here, we have, we have really interesting bartenders who have all kinds of different crazy stories, but then the customers are cool too. I mean,
my gosh, there's so much going on. It's almost like it's some crazy Candyland for adults that serves beer, which is great. All right, so, why did we decide to do this? What was going on besides just talking about it? What was your drive to kind of get behind this?
I've worked in radio since I got out of college. I've done my own podcast. It just made sense that with all the cool stuff that we have going on here, why not make a podcast about Twisted Irons,
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of tied up behind the camera most of the time, so I was like, hey, if you get in front, I get behind, we're going to make this cool thing happen, and here we are.
Yeah, I mean, and I think it's gone pretty well so far. I mean, we got one episode out so far. This is going to be episode 2. Hopefully people think it's cool.
I feel like we should have introduced ourselves in episode 1, but we're not that smart. So bear with us while we figure this out, right?
Right, we're kind of like a Star Wars series or something. You don't get part 1 right away. We might start with
episode 4, and that's what we did. We started with episode 4. The reason why we came here originally is for the beer, right?
We drink beer.
We drink a lot of beer.
Yeah.
So we always want to make an effort to talk about beer. So if there's a beer or something that you guys want to see, or a beer that you guys want to taste, talk to us, ask us about it, because chances are we can make it. We have this amazing small batch program that we're going to show you more about in a future episode that I think is really, really, it's something that's going to be amazing for customers to taste, just an idea that may have come from a regular that was in here, or one of us just blurted something out, or one of the brewers was like, I'd like to make this. And it's not something that could fit in the full batch, but it's a small batch, so it's a lot of ideas, and I think that is also really exciting.
Yeah, I mean, and you have a small batch beer right now, right?
This is a small, actually this is a collab beer. So our brewer went down to his old stomping ground in Lower Delaware, and this is called Hurts So Good. This is our Eagles themed beer, celebrating the world champion Eagles. That's what green, the hat, the whole
nine yards.
Go Birds. So this was done in the collaboration between Brickworks Brewing in Smyrna and Mississippi River in Milton, I believe they are. And our brewer has ties with those guys, so we wanted to celebrate our relationship with them and put this beer out. And so far, man, it's really
good. It's 8% ABV, and Joe's had 3 so far.
Yeah, if you can't tell already. So essentially what this is a West Coast IPA. But they used, I want to say it's Brandon's going to yell at me, but I think it's an East Coast yeast or something, but it gives it a little bit of a sweetness on the end, so you get the bitterness up front of a West Coast, and then you get the sweetness on the end. It's magical. I've had too many.
Cheers, dude.
Cheers, man. All right, so welcome to the Get Twisted podcast. I am Joe. I'm the Director of Art and Marketing Mayhem here at Twisted Irons Brewery, and I'm here with Brandon, our brewer. Cheers, man. So cheers. What's going on? So, well, cheers at the end.
Yeah,
don't cheers me in the beginning.
I don't like you that much anyway, so
right,
let's find out.
That's perfect. All right. So tell me, how did you get into beer and brewing?
So that started, it was probably 15 years ago, and originally I may or may not have been under 21. I won't let that get out. And I started, I just tasted a Coors Light one day, and it kind of just was like, oh, here's beer, and I was like, okay, this is cool. And then I tried a 60-minute IPA, and then that was like, oh, this is a lot different than beer. So from there, I kind of started making it at home, just because that little bit has sparked an interest in wanting to pursue it more. So I also couldn't buy it at the time, so making it was the way to go. So started doing it on my mom's stovetop, and she used to get mad when it came to dinner time.
When the smell would
and she would be like, hey, I need to make dinner. And I'd be like, I have an hour boil, you have to wait. And then Dad would get mad. So that's where it all started. And then from there, I just found an internship with an old brewery, Mispillion River. They're still out there kicking, but that was the place I was before here. And so that's pretty much how I got into everything, and then now I've been in it for 10 plus years now.
Nice. What's your favorite beer to brew? Favorite style, maybe, I guess.
My favorite style to brew specifically would be stouts. The best reason for that is it just makes the entire brew house smell awesome. So when you make an IPA or something like that, you're putting in your traditional base malts of 2-row, maybe some oats and some other things if you want to get fancy for your hazies, but there's not a whole lot there. When you do a stout, then you add all these roasted barley and chocolate malts, and then it just gives this intense flavor and aroma of roast in the brew house. The entire building smells like a coffee joint. So those are my favorite to brew, just because. And then they're a little more forgiving in the brew process as well. When you do a stout,
gotcha.
It's harder, or it's not as easy to detect flaws if you might have a small one. So that's another reason I like to brew them.
Well, they're also one of our favorite to drink too.
They are also very good to drink, and we are in that season right now. So
we are in a strangely nice day, honestly.
Yes, even though we are outside in the middle of December right now. So.
Right on.
Hey, mister.
So, have you seen Dave anywhere?
No, I haven't seen him anywhere.
Randy, no.
Oh.
I haven't seen him either.
Okay.
Randy,
that's what
we're live. No, get out of here.
Show us your titties.
Didn't they just lose to the Flyers the other night? Oh my God.
Wasn't the Flyers?
Go Ravens.
The Senator.
All right, get out of here. It's a gig a minute. Get out of here.
Beat the Canadians fucking 9-2.
All right, get out of here.
I want that to be on the final cut. We beat the fucking Canadians 9-2.
No, please put that on.
This is what I have to deal with every day. Right. Every day.
He is perfectly in between us.
But we can't yell at him. His name's on the doors.
Yeah.
What can we do? Hey man, so what's your favorite part of brewing?
My favorite part of the brewing process is actually...
Let me stop you. It's drinking the beer when we're done. Next question.
Definitely.
Right, no, go ahead.
But I was going to say it's actually recipe development. So one of the coolest things for me about beer is there's all these different ingredients out there, and when you combine them together, you make a beer. I know it sounds very simple, but there are so many different kinds of, let's say, just barley, base malts of different companies, and each one tastes different from different countries.
So there's an art to it.
There's all the different hops. If they're grown domestically here, they taste different than they do from New Zealand. So that aspect of it is there's a million different combinations to make one glass of beer.
Nice.
And that is the coolest part to me. And it's like building a Lego set almost. You're putting all the pieces together, and then you actually go to the brew house and physically put it together. So
gotcha.
That's why I like doing the recipe. It's like getting your idea of what you want to make. You're thinking about what you want to taste in the glass, and then you try to put that on paper. So that's my favorite part of the process.
Nice, man. Mine is drinking it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I don't blame you.
Sorry.
That's my second favorite part.
Sticking on the topic of making beer, what is the hardest beer to make that kind of has the biggest reward?
Oh, that's a very good question. I would say a lot of beers, most beers come with their own challenge. Each style does. But I would say the hardest one is probably trying to do a barrel-aged a beer and making sure it comes out right. And that could be any kind of different beer. So as an example, we have some Belgians in a barrel right now, and we have some Imperial Stouts, and all those, every time you put in a barrel, you run a risk of infection. So those, it's always a scary thing when you put it to bed inside of a barrel, but when it comes out perfect, it has that great oak taste and great bourbon taste, or rye, whiskey, whatever you put it in, that is so rewarding because you've waited now 6 months of potential anything could go wrong in that barrel. You cannot control it there. It's not like our stainless that feels so good and safe on our normal side. So that's why it's very scary and it's very risky doing it, and the reward can be just out of this world.
So for people who don't understand, explain the infection. Like, what is that?
So at all times, beer is susceptible to bacteria. It's just like all other food, you know what I mean? You leave it out on a counter too long, bread, mold's gonna grow on it. So same thing with beer. It happens a lot faster than your other foods. It can take a few days and then it can get really gross really fast. And you'll start tasting off flavor. So what bacteria loves, and there's always some residual sugar in these beers, and the bacteria wants to eat it. And then once it starts eating it, it gives off flavors of, you can have tartness, or even sometimes if it's a wrong thing, it can smell and taste like throw up. So
that's fun. So
that's nowhere where you
don't want that.
So those are the scary things, and you can't control that in a barrel. You don't have the same exact. You can't kill the bacteria the same way like you do when you clean stainless steel and get it nice and shiny and put sanitizer over top of it. You're using live wood with live bugs, and you're hoping that there's enough alcohol in that barrel to be able to keep it sanitary for the entire time. Right
on. So you said bugs, and this is a little off topic too, but when you mentioned bugs, you told me once before when you were, I think, making a sour, that this is a bug that could infect the whole brewery. What is that?
So what that one was specifically was Brettanomyces. So that is a good bug, good and bad bug. So something like the ones that I described that would give you that throw up taste and flavor, like you do not want those in your beer at all.
Throw up, bad.
Very bad.
Really bad.
So then things like Brettanomyces, they are considered horse blanket is what you would most people think of when you describe it. So tart and horse blanket, almost like a citronella as well, lemongrass. So those are specific characteristics that come from that specific yeast strain of Brettanomyces. So that makes that. And then you go into different things like bacteria, like Pediococcus. That one is another one where,
bless you.
Excuse me. And that one is another one where it's extremely aggressive, and it's great because it makes really good tart beer. But if that or Brettanomyces got over into my normal stuff where I'm making something like this, a nice clear, crisp beer that I want, a specific flavor in, and I don't want any tartness, it can overpower that beer very quickly, and you need strong chemicals to be able to kill them in a really good CIP process.
So that's why
it can infect your stuff, and then once it infects your stuff, it's really hard to get it out.
Because I've seen you use it before, and you always look like you're in a hazmat suit. Making sure that
I pretend that I am. I pretend that it's going to COVID all over again is the way I treat it. So,
nice. What beer do you want to make next? What's kind of your, without giving away any super secrets?
I will tell the style that I've always wanted to make and I have never made is malt liquor. I've always wanted to make a malt liquor. I know it sounds very simple, but I am a big fan of Mickey's growing up in Old E. I mean, who hasn't played Edward 40 at some point? So, I want to do a malt liquor, big, bold, 8%. Put it in a paper bag and have fun.
Nice. So speaking of drinking, what are you drinking now?
Currently, I am drinking our Check Please, which is absolutely delicious. We just did a new way to add our Saaz hops in here and really punch you in the face with it in a good way, not in an assaulting way. But it is very delicious, very crisp, just the right amount of like noble hop bite to it. So for even if you're not a hop head, it's awesome. So
Nice.
that's what I'm drinking right
And
now.
what did you pour for me? Now, to be fair, this is my favorite beer here, but what did you pour for me?
Oh, so for you, I chose the Dark IPA, which is Dark Side of the Moon, and it is you take a base of a stout or a porter, and then we hop the living crap out of it, just like we do all the other IPAs. So this one is great. So for people that are in the same category of like I don't like hops a lot, this one will help branch that in between. So you get a little bit of the roast, a little bit of the chocolate in it, and then it's followed up with the bitterness of the hops. So it's not as in your face as a traditional IPA.
Nice.
So,
all right, man, well, cheers.
now
Thanks.
cheers.
Thanks for talking with me. I really appreciate
Anytime.
it.
I appreciate you having me out front here.
You'll be back on the Get Twisted podcast. All right, wave bye to everybody.
I'll be back here tomorrow to work.
We can't cheers and not drink, so let's do that. Man, that is the best thing ever.
What's up, guys? Zach here with the Get Twisted podcast. And
Why is it so loud in here?
Well, we just stole Glenn and Ethan of Guilt 45 out of the open mic night that's going on in the other room. Now, did you two actually start playing together after meeting here at open mic night?
Glenn and I actually met 15 years ago in a retail job, and we kind of stayed in contact. And then he dragged me to an open mic night.
Kicking and screaming.
Yeah, I thought we were jamming that day for the next week, and then we decided to go that night. And we've been playing together ever since. That was November 23.
Sounds about right.
22, 23. Yeah.
One of those years. Might have been our first time playing together in general.
Yeah, because I had half bands throughout my life, and I never really. I think I had Glenn over to jam a few times, but we never really did anything with it.
Wow, that's awesome. And then Guilt 45 ended up coming out of it. So if anybody doesn't know, you guys play at least once a month here, and you rock the whole place. You bring everybody out, and it's definitely something I look forward to every month. What can people expect if they've never come and seen you guys play here before?
So definitely like alt rock, mostly focusing on that stuff from the 90s, so that grunge scene. We get a little weird and wild with it outside of that, and then a couple of jams from the early 2000s. That's generally what we do.
Yeah, all your 90s deep cuts. We do all your classic, your Pearl Jams, STPs, Nirvanas. Those are always going to be in there. But yeah, we'd be getting a little heavier. So that's always fun. We had some Korn, System of a Down. We'd like to get in some like Mudvayne-y heavy stuff, but it's just a big ask on our vocal abilities, and
Now, you guys both sing when you play together. How do you guys go into determining what song is going to be sung by who?
What do you think, you're Alice in Chains?
yeah. No,
Well, sometimes it's super simple. It'll be like, okay, one person likes the song more than the other, so they usually will take the vocal on the song that they like more. That's kind of a general rule. It's not always the case, but 9 out of 10 times. Sometimes we both like the song, and it just, we kind of talk it out and figure out who's going to be, I don't know, either better equipped or just wants it more.
we could figure it out live right now. A song we are working on, hopefully soon, is Bullet with Butterfly Wings. I think Glenn suggested it. I like the song. It's like the first one I remember hearing from Smashing Pumpkins. So I was like, hey, if you want to sing it, you can have it. But if you really don't care about it, I will sing it because I like it as well. So
I'll sing that song, and then I don't have to learn as much guitar.
there we go. That's how it's
I guess
done.
that's a good trade-off, right?
Yeah, that's another thing is if some person likes the song for the guitar or the vocals, we'll split duties. It just depends on pretty much who suggests it. Out of us two is usually who does the vocals, and we try to get Jason involved with singing as well. So I want to try to get a full set of Jason, just so I have less singing to do, because the less singing I can do, then I can do screams and more harsh vocals towards the end of the night.
Save your voice.
Save my voice, yeah. But Are You Gonna Be My Girl by Jets surprisingly hard on my voice.
I don't.
It's a fun one.
I haven't tried it recently, but anytime like back when I tried to sing that like in the car, wouldn't be a thing. Wouldn't happen. Or I could sing it and it wouldn't sound anything like the album.
Yeah, I actually I have a note, another thing I wanted to talk about live on this podcast today. We should start switching vocals on different songs too that we play already.
Yeah.
That would be easier, because I know you probably want to sing Sober by Tool.
Definitely.
Yeah, so that would be a fun one to switch up. And then I was like, what does he sing that I want to sing? And I'm sure there's a bunch.
Do some trading?
Yeah.
Now, I'm sure Sober is a hard song to play. What are some of the songs that you guys have performed that you feel like were like the biggest challenges for you?
System for sure. Anything we play by System. I love System of a Down. Toxicity is an amazing album. It's just, they're so technically whatever. Drums are involved, bass are involved, vocals are involved, and guitar. I always mess up something on the guitar every time we play them, and I beat myself up over it. But it's a fun song. So towards the end of the night, so everyone's a little more loose and having a good time, and it's just about energy more than it is perfection. That was tough.
I know I had a tough time figuring out the solos from Welcome Home by Cody and Cambria. But now that I got them locked in, like a little quick refresher is all I kind of need when we end up putting that back in set lists. Sometimes you'll get like songs that are tough to like lock in even though they're not tough to play. Like sometimes there'll be like a song that's like a 4-chord and it's like all power chords, it's like punky, it's like super easy, so you breeze through it in practice and you forget to practice it again and then it comes like time for the show and you're like, what are the chords again?
Right, you're like, let's focus on something harder.
Yeah.
Right, and then sometimes those easy ones like fall by the wayside and you're like, I forgot the 3 chords that are in the song. But usually by the time it's showtime, I got it locked back in.
Yeah, we were rehearsing Sublime's Bad Fish and Real Big Fish's Beer. Both start with B. I put them back to back in the set, and we were rehearsing them the other night, and I started playing what I thought was Bad Fish, and it was Beer, and everyone was just like, "You're playing Beer," and I was like,
the wrong ska song.
"You're right, my bad."
So you guys have like a ska moment in there.
Yeah. We're just like, we do it all the time. We're just, that's the song. Oh, that one. Okay. I mean, you know, many times we are starting a song and we're trying to figure out who starts it, if it's Brandon with some clicks or if it's just guitar, if it's just singing.
Yeah, that's an easy thing to forget somehow.
Yeah. Just how does the song start?
Who starts this?
Can't imagine when we start originals. Who did this one?
Oh, and then the other famous question for us, and this is an open mic thing, not so much for shows, but we get here, if we haven't figured out like songs way ahead of time, we'll get here, we'll like talk about it, figure them out, and then throughout the night, like 7 times at least, we're asking each other, what are we playing again?
See, we established it. I have a playlist. They're all set. I forgot. I was going to play, I had 3 set for today, and about an hour before I got here tonight, I decided to cut one of the songs because it's just vocally not where I want. The rhythm's weird. I have no idea what song I'm going to do third now. But I think when this is done, I got to go out there and figure that out. But we'll figure it out.
Now, when you guys select songs to do for an open mic night, is it usually the same kind of style that you guys play together, or do you kind of try and branch off and do something a little different?
Little column A, little column B. Sometimes, especially if we have a show coming up, and we can get most of the band members here, we'll do songs from the set as kind of like a little bit of a promo. But I don't know, a lot of times I try to use the open mic as like play something that's outside the band kind of vibe.
Yeah, that's what I was going to do. So, spoilers, my birthday is Friday, which is also Valentine's Day, hence the pink. And so I was going to do some lovey songs for Valentine's Day and also a birthday song called Waste by Brand New. Brand New is one of my favorite bands. It's a great song, but it's literally him writing a letter to his younger self. It's like a retrospective of his career, and I was like, that's such a cool idea for a birthday song. I was like, I'll do that one. And then I was going to do the song Daylily by Movements, which I think you might know as well. That's the one I ended up cutting. And then the other song I'm doing tonight, it's a Halsey song, finally, Beautiful Stranger, that we did at a wedding. We started out acoustic. No one knows that song, so I love doing subversive things that no one knows before, but it's a chance for me to play. I mean, I bring a lot of stuff that I like to play that's odd with Guilt, but we do want people to come out to shows, so we don't want to play all deep cuts. We hit your one-hit wonders, we hit the deep cuts that like aren't the main top hit or two from a band. Like, we don't like playing Smells Like Teen Spirit too much. A lot of stuff off Nevermind is a lot more popular with fans, but people still know all the songs. Like, that's a great example to that. So if it can be subversive, we'll sprinkle them in for the true fans, but we don't want to be, tiring people out and playing stuff they don't know.
Right, too out there, but also in those chances, like, you guys are very talented. People might think it's your song, and that's a cool part about it too.
I feel like I got that when I first started coming to open mic. I got that all the time. Is that an original? I'm like, that's a Nine Inch Nails song, guy. I'm sorry, no.
we did that. We had a show on Saturday somewhere else, and we played Cherub Rock by Smashing Pumpkins, and at the end of it, through the whole song, I do the Billy Corgan, kind of nasally thing. So we finished the song, and I'd made a joke like, "Oh, thanks guys so much. That was an original." And I had somebody approach me afterwards, and they were like, "That original sounded really good." Like, I was like, what song did I say that at? I didn't remember what song I said after. I just say a bunch of dumb stuff on stage. So it was just a fun little moment, but they thought it was an original. I was like, no, it was a Smashing Pumpkins song.
So another question for you. Do you think it's lame to wear band t-shirts for your own band? So also, dude, you did the intro for the Get Twisted podcast. Can you go into a little bit on, the whole process of making that?
Yeah, so I showed up one day and we sat over here on the side and we went through a couple different things. We touched on Judas Priest, Maiden. I was like, do you want like a Top Gun thing? Kind of punky, grungy, acoustic. We went through a bunch of different stuff and we kind of ended up on like a surfy, not quite, thank you so much, Joe. Joe just reminded, Dead Milkmen. I've never heard of these people. Glenn know of them, and the rest of the band know of them. I don't know of them. But Dead Milkmen, Bad Lizard, Big Lizard, Bad Lizard.
Big Bad Lizard?
Yeah, in my backyard. So something like that, and I was like, oh, so it's got a little bit of rockabilly, a little bit of surf to it, and so I just like wrote a little ditty, and yeah, it was a lot of fun.
That's awesome, man. I appreciate you doing it, man.
Of course, thank you.
And I gotta ask you guys, what are you drinking?
I'm drinking the Eastern Promises, the Baltic.
Awesome,
it
the porter.
It is one of my favorites because it's 7% I think-ish, but it drinks pretty light. It's one of my favorites for the cold months.
Awesome. And Glenn, what are you drinking?
I've got the Goodnight Kiss. And I got a small one because this sucker is 10%.
You gotta watch yourself on that one. You have two.
I always get the babies. I really like that they do small pours here. But yeah, one of my favorites. I love a triple, and this one is no exception. It is fantastic. Packed full of flavor.
Awesome. Cheers, guys.
Cheers, Zach. Thanks so much for having us.
Launcha.
Bam! You've been listening to the Get Twisted podcast with Zac and Joe. Thanks for hanging out with us. And if you have an idea for a guest that we should interview or a topic we should discuss, please leave a comment below. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. And we'll see you next month with a brand new episode. Cheers, everyone.